Thank you for joining the April 18th, 2019 VOLTA call. We do record these sessions, so please keep that in mind during any discussions and any presentations that we may have today. With that, I think we'll get started with today's meeting. We do have a brief agenda today. If we need to have additional time to discuss some of the ongoing topics on VOLTA Discuss, we can use that with folks who are available. But right now, the planned item for today is to talk about the status of the planning for the Deutsche Telekom related items that are slated for VOLTA V 2.1. And Bjorn, I think I saw you join the bridge.
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so Bjorn, I think I'll leave it over to you to talk about the update for the planning for the DT related items. And did you have anything you wanted to show, or do you want me to go to the planning slides? Or it can just be
I think about that. It might be easier if you go to the planning side and I say a few words on that. So then.
All right.
Okay.
And we've got the bulleted list of items, if that's easier to view. I can switch to that slide if you prefer.
I think it's fine so far. So the one important thing. So I sat together with Amit from Radisys. He's now based in Berlin, so it's pretty easy to sit together. And we sat together and we talked about that. And especially for with the Radisys, there's a special kind of a special situation because they have some own developer which act as under the head of Radisys itself, and they have 4 developers which are acting under the head of DT. So and probably that's not the easiest way to reflect that here in that kind of table. And our idea is to make it visible who's responsible for that, for what, or who is founding, or which resource is founded by whom. We decided to put in that case it is a Radisys resource founded by DT. We put in a bracket DT/partner. So that's the main. That's the first thing we decided. And that's especially relevant for the first 2 feature areas here in that table. So it's the technology profile and meter bands, and of course the migrate OpenOIT adapter to Go. So Sean Missel is not one of them. He is still a Radisys resource, but we have agreed some names from Radisys where we consider that these are founded by DT. I sent this list later in a polished version of our internal working document. So you don't have to edit it right now. And so we can do it in that way first, and then then we can update it with concrete persons, concrete names.
Great. Okay, sounds good.
All right. Also for Amit, we have the status that he's a resource based on DT.
Okay, so I should change Amit to DT partner.
That's great. And there we have the question: is it? It's just an editorial question. Is it on purpose to have the technical team or the team technical lead as well in the contributor column, or should one person only belonging to one column? So that was question. So it's
okay.
up to
So
the group.
For me, how I had done it is if I'll use the first two rows for an example. So Sean is serving as a technical lead and doing lots of architecture work, but he's not directly doing the coding. So I listed him as a team lead, but not as a contributor. So Amit has been doing both. So he'd been doing the team lead, but then also was doing coding. So I had him listed in both, so that when I went to another slide over here, I total up the number of contributors that were available. Oops, wrong slide. And then that would be the number that went in here.
Okay, so Amit, I think Amit is on the call, so I'm not sure. Maybe I got it wrong, but I'm not sure if Amit is really focused on contributing code to the migration. So
yeah,
Amit, if you want to say something to yourself,
yeah, I'm not sure if I really would have the time to actually write code for the containerized part. Yeah, it's okay.
So I will just leave this as a generic DT partner right now. If we have names to fill in.
That's great.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that clarification. Okay, thanks, Amit. Thanks, Bjorn.
Okay, so and then we have an additional one of these resources we plan to bring to the migration of the BAL code.
Okay.
So there it was not mentioned yet, I think. So there's DT partner as well. Yes, great. And then we had for the multiple TCON support, where we considered that it includes the tech profile work for these multiple TCON support. There we thought about to bring architecture or design input from DT itself, because the idea is, or the point is that we need the support of multiple TCONs in our in our FTDB use case as well, and therefore we are aware that here the focus is on the Turk Telecom workflow and use case for FTDH, but as I mentioned, we also have requirements on that for FTDB. And therefore, we would like to bring in here design or architecture input to be sure we can use the work which will be done here already a little bit later on for our FTDB use case. So yeah, exactly as you mentioned, it is perfect.
Okay.
Great. And for multicast, we don't are engaged to bring resources for that, and we also plan to bring architecture and requirement work or resource to the white box OLT device manager and to the alarms and performance management. So that will be a DT resource. So we will do that by our own. Yeah, probably I will do it. for both of these.
Both of us. Okay. Yeah. And you said you would likely be doing that?
Yeah, you can name me there.
Okay. Thank you.
So that's it. In mainly, we have one more point, which is the GPON support. On that side, there's only DT named, and there you can put Paul in that. Paul Wagner will do in the technical lead team.
Okay.
He will be mentioned there. And on the contribution side, you can name it DT/partner again. And and hopefully we will get, or we will find some resources more to help us. So maybe from from the ONF. Maybe Chad can do something. So I know that Paul already did a lot of work to organize an GPON OLT for the ONF lab. So let's see what's there. But keep it as it is for the moment. But we would be happy if someone else would step up and help us there. Okay, so that's what we planned in detail, and then for the 4 to be defined items at the bottom, we had also some internal discussion on that, and yeah, but at the end we decided that there's more detailed definition or conceptual work needed to figure out what's really meant by these very high level statements or very high level feature areas. So there's, I think, more discussion needed to figure out what's really to do, and then to figure out who is able to do that.
Okay, very good. All right, so, Bjorn, thank you for the updates. Okay.
Welcome.
And then while we're on the planning side, since I know we have a number of the technical leads on, and some of you may have been doing this in the background already, just a reminder that we've got about 2 weeks left before we'll start V2.1 for the first sprint if things go as planned. And so if you can start pulling together at least an estimate of the number of story points, and then we can look at how many contributors we have to try and determine the number of sprints required for the work, then we can start doing some more detailed planning in the coming weeks. So feel free to start getting stories entered into JIRA and mapped over to version 2.1. And then if you have input that you can provide for me to update this slide, please provide it, and then I'll update it. And this is available again on the wiki through the link on the, I think it's an admin page, admin and planning page. Okay, any questions from the group or any other updates from the group on the planning slides today? All right, let me go back to the agenda slide. I do want to make just a quick note for the group. So I had a brief status update or question to the containerization brigade today, and I think it's how we had previously planned it as well, but we're going to continue the containerization brigade calls. The plan is to continue those through the end of May. So we'll be continuing to have this modified schedule for our Thursday VOLTHA TST calls starting at 7:30 Pacific instead of 7. So we'll be continuing that for another 5 or 6 weeks. So just a little update there on the schedule. And then once that brigade wraps up, then we'll try and go back to our usual schedule starting at 7 a.m. Pacific. So a few more weeks of that altered schedule. And then I think this was really the main topic that we had for today. And I do want to mention we have a number of active discussion points on VOLTHA Discuss right now. And if we can't get those resolved over VOLTHA Discuss, I think we'll need to pull them into the Thursday calls. So I want to make sure that they stay active discussions. And if you are aware of one that you definitely think needs to be mapped into a call now, please let me know, and we'll get some time allocated for that in the next week. So any comments from the group on discussion topics then that need to be pulled into this larger group? Okay, I'm not hearing any. So any other items that the group would like to discuss on today's call? All right, I'm not hearing any, so I will go ahead and give everyone some time back today. And if you do have updates for me for the planning deck, please let me know, and I'll get those folded into the version that is shared. And the link here I've got, you can see the VOLTHA admin and project management page, and the link to the planning slide is right down here for the 2.x roadmap and release planning under development. Okay. Last call for comments before we drop the bridge today.
Since it is a short meeting, I guess I will bring it up. Chip, I sent you some information about the SSH container
Okay.
and the testing. Is that sufficient for?
Yeah, I haven't reviewed it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take a real quick look. Did you send that to my Tibbet email or?
I slacked it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably why I don't have Slack up right now.
All right, thanks.
I'll look at it real quick.
I'd also like to throw out that at the end of the CEBA conversation on Tuesday, we didn't really come up with a decision of where to continue the alarms and events discussion, and I know that's relevant to VOLTHA as well. I'd be happy to continue hosting those during the CEBA call, but I think we're currently in a period of everybody trying to digest everything. So it's up to the community. If you guys want to talk about it, maybe sometime on the VOLTHA call next week, or I can continue to do that on the CEBA call. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a personal opinion on that. So because in our internal project, we handle it in the VOLTHA team. Of course, there are relations to the EMS team, so for the management system as well, but it's also handled in the VOLTHA team. So yeah, I have a light preference to have it on the VOLTHA side, but I fully understand if others would like to see it on the CEBA side. So that's just a personal light preference. So
this is Tom Moore from AT&T. I wanted to give some feedback on this. I've had to miss some of the calls where it's been discussed. Been limited on time is one of my highest priorities to get back into providing specific feedback for VOLTHA and CEBA. I think it will help to as much as possible define what is in the CEBA scope and what is in the VOLTHA scope. That's probably already been done to some extent before. I don't want to be preaching to the choir, but that way we can focus on what is coming from a VOLT perspective in VOLTHA, and that it's complete and that it's what we want there. We have an interest in the CEBA covering the non-VOLT functions like the common ag and server monitoring, and in a way that is being covered with respect to the discussion already, I think. And I think we just need to continue how it comes together in CEBA. Posting to Kafka from VOLTHA has been an implementation that has existed for a while. I think there's more to it in CEBA on these topics of the redfish and transformer, and I also in this topic I'm interested in bringing up the Kubernetes monitoring, which is bring some options from the open community of where we do collection on that as well. But I consider that a CEBA topic, and I've given some feedback and discussion on filtering and things like that, where I think there's some things that are different priority there, and but internally to Sean, and we've had some of that discussion, and Sean's tried to get me on some of the calls that I missed, and I need to do it more formally, so I don't want to I want to come prepared. So I am going to provide some more feedback on it. I may do some through VOLTHA Discuss before or the CEBA dev as well. But there's been good inputs there. I think we have some good things to work with, but I do think we probably need to be talking more on the CEBA side. unless there's something I've missed as far as, if we're changing something from our approach on VOLTA posting, VLT, essentially alarms posting to the Kafka bus. If that's the same, and but I think we've got some, come to think of it, we have some discussion about hierarchy there in the VLT. That's where I've had some comments and that I haven't brought to the community yet.
So, Tom, for that portion of it, the hierarchy in VOLT, is that something you're planning to put on VOLTA to discuss, or do you want to get that pulled in as a discussion topic on one of the VOLTA calls?
Probably both. I don't want to, just come and discuss things. If I can put something to respond to some of the discussions out there, and then have it, so it's, then have a discussion and then a follow-up. I have a certain opinion on this, that some of this gets, in terms of also to get some input from everybody on how they want it to work for the initial requirements. So some of the requirements I've seen, or ideas on the requirements I've seen, are probably more than what we need for something initially. And then there's some activity for modeling this activity that comes from an IETF RFC discussion that, quite frankly, PBF is waiting for that to be the guide for them on how they handle some of these alarm functions that have been part of this discussion. And so that's another reason that, just it gets into the topic a little bit differently, but much of it I don't think is absolutely necessary for an initial implementation. And so that's where some of my opinion is will take some time to state it the right way, and with relation to a common industry approach, which is the motivation that needs to also be factored in.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So I think I heard they were planning to initially place some comments to kick off discussion on VOLTA Discuss, and then follow up with a discussion slot on a VOLTA call. Did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, I think that's already started in a way, but I just want to say I want to add some to that, and then bring it back in a VOLTA call. But then I want to direct where things should happen. I think should happen on SIBA in a separate SIBA dev, and SIBA meeting track.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So Zach, I think the main answer we're going to have to the question on where to continue discussions is going to be on both, but separate out, kind of what is covered on each call a little bit more.
That's fine.
Zach,
I expected that sort of thing. I just wanted to, at least for the initial, for some of the things that we're going to probably share, formats and schema and that sort of stuff, and then maybe filtering, which is another topic. We can let's as events come up, I'll try to get everybody involved on the SIBA side if there are VOLTA calls, and I'll do the same if there's VOLTA relevant stuff that happen on the SIBA calls.
Okay.
I'll coordinate with you, Julie.
Maybe what we can try to do, I'll see if this is palatable to the community. I'm thinking for folks who need to kind of cover both sides of it, we might try and schedule the discussions on the VOLTA side in maybe the last half hour of the Tuesday calls, and discussions on the SIBA side on the first agenda topic of the SIBA calls, so that people can just kind of jump quickly from one meeting to the next if needed to continue discussion.
That sounds fine.
Okay, So we'll try and coordinate a little bit for that. Any other input on this topic for today?
To Tom specifically, I'd be interested in the IETF, BBF stuff. If you could send me an email or link me that would be great.
Okay, sure, Zach. Thank you.
Okay.
Is that Zach, right?
Yes, that was Zach.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
Okay. Any other topics today? Okay. Then on VOLTHA Discuss, let's see if we can get a little further along on some of the discussion of the open topics, some of which we kicked off at the Thursday, was it Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday call for discussion related to CLI, related to, now I'm drawing a blank on, on everything. There are a number of topics that we kicked off and are on VOLTHA Discuss currently. So we'll see if we can get some traction there and then pull them into a targeted time slot if necessary to get resolution on those. Okay, any last comments before we drop the bridge today? All right, we'll go ahead and wrap up and give everyone some time back. Thank you.